Hi everyone, this is Fahad from Pixel Icons, and I'm about to do an in-depth analysis of the Fallout 4 announcement trailer. Let's get right into it. Right off the bat, the first thing we see is this please stand by message. These messages are fairly common in the Fallout games. It appears in Fallout 1 and in Fallout 2, both times as crass messages. It also appears in Fallout 3 before the main menu, and additionally, it was used as the background image for the Fallout 4 countdown clock. Let's just say, this succeeded in getting everyone hyped. The astute among you may notice that this standby image is different to the one that was used in the countdown clocks. The one in the countdown clocks has a inner circle, which is almost like a speedometer that fills up as you watch it. It's missing here. This one is more similar to the one that was used in Fallout 1 and in Fallout 2. Each standby background image is based on the iconic post-war black and white Indian head test pattern. You can read all about it in Wikipedia. Although having no direct ties to the gameplay, it's an important sight to recognize for any Fallout fan. The test pattern and its phrase has become synonymous with Fallout amongst gamers. Beginning with the test pattern is Bethesda's way of showing us that they really care about the theming, tone, and fans of their game. The trailer then begins by zooming out of the television screen, harkening back to the Fallout 3 teaser, which had the same styled opening shot. Once the camera is zoomed out enough, we get our first clue about the game's setting. Obviously, the current scene is taking place after the bombs dropped, but the picture to the left of the camera contains details about where in America this takes place. Although it can be hard to make out due to the grayscale and size of the photograph, the image depicts from right to left a man, woman, and a large white obelisk-like tower. These two people appear later on in the trailer as well. Currently it's unknown whether they have any relation to the protagonist, however I think it's safe to assume that these two people are the parents of the protagonist. The obelisk on the left is an important detail as well. It's shown again later on in the trailer, where it is displayed much more clearly. This obelisk belongs to the Bunker Hill Monument, which is part of Boston National Historical Park. This confirms Boston, Massachusetts as the setting for Fallout 4. You can read all about the Battle of Bunker Hill and the monument at Wikipedia. Oh, and by the way, that game on the table, it's called Blast Radius. Fallout 4, dark humor and irony confirmed.
With the world poised on the brink of war, Vault-Tec is reporting a record number.
This is our first look at Fallout 4's Dogmeat. Not a lot of people know that Dogmeat was in every single one of the major Fallout games, and was inspired from Mad Max's dog. Regardless of where he's from, we're glad to have him in Fallout 4.
Folks, it seems we've got some breaking news. Stand by.
Now, I think this Dogball here gives a lot of information about the time Fallout 4 takes place. Due to its presence, this trailer implies that the family living here owned Dogmeat, or maybe another dog. Although I'm operating on the premise that it was Dogmeat, or maybe Dogmeat's father or mother. If the baby seen later is the protagonist of the game, another premise I'm operating on, then Fallout 4 must be set much closer to the Great War than the other Fallout games. In the Fallout universe, the nuclear warheads hit North America in 2077. The protagonist, who later appears at the end of the trailer, doesn't seem elderly, and dogs do not live and stay healthy for longer than 15 years or so. Unless the protagonist later turned his household into a shelter for him and his dog, or maybe this Dogmeat is the offspring of another dog, Fallout 4 must take place somewhere near 2090, which makes it one of, if not the earliest set games in the series. Granted, this could all be wild speculation, so take this with a grain of salt. I'll take off my tinfoil hat now.
No, I'm trying to forget about how much I care for you.
We seem to have lost contact with our affiliate.
A few things about the props and the music here should bring back nostalgia. The F block, rattle, Nuka-Cola truck, and the Rocket Mobile were all used in Fallout 3, and the music was also present in your baby room in Vault 101. Also, the dialogue from the radio host firmly places the flashback scene during the bombings of the Great War.
Stations, stand by. We do have coming in confirmed reports of nuclear detonation.
This boy in the red baseball cap and striped shirt gets a lot of screen time during the run-up to the vault. Now, this could be completely a coincidence, but I think it might be possible for him to play a bigger role in the story of Fallout 4. There's a chance that he is the protagonist, in which case the Dogball theory of mine wouldn't hold much ground. Re-entering the wasteland 10 years after Warhead and 20 years after Warhead would be night and day. But nothing is for certain. I think the reason he gets so much screen time is because an adult version of him will become important to the story later on, kinda like Butch in Fallout 3. Or maybe he will be a character we get to control in the introductory sequence, so we can see the bombs hit, just as the people around us get into the vault. More on this later on.
God. Our soldiers were right. War never changes.
This is a Commonwealth airship. This locale we see here is probably a large town we can travel into. Like the gameplay trailer for Skyrim, this is likely the first place we visit after emerging from the vault, which makes a lot of sense, just like Megaton and Riverwood. And Riverwood was shown off in the gameplay trailer for Skyrim, just like this place. It would then explain why this place has a strong Megaton vibe. Sheet metal construction, neon lights, and a duster and hat wearing figure approaching the camera to top it off. Very reminiscent of Lucas Sims, and very cool. I look forward to traveling to this place in game. I've got to talk about this. We are then assaulted with a sequence of awesome imagery. A pack Brahmin crossing the terrain, 2 Brotherhood of Steel paladins behind a bus, a rusty Protectron with a large city, possibly the one we saw earlier, behind it, and then a beach landscape with an ocean lurk, yes that is what I'm calling it, stalking about. The terrain in this game looks nothing like how I'd imagined it. In my mind, I thought that the Boston wasteland would be riddled with snow, but I'm pleasantly surprised by the look they achieved in Fallout 4. It evokes imagery of earlier games while still feeling unique, and while though I'd prefer an irradiated, frozen look, I'm happy with what I got. Wait a minute, I gotta talk about this. Hooray, Deathclaws are back. This is the second Vertibird to appear in the trailer. Now in the other games, the Vertibird was bad for players because it meant more Enclave reinforcements, but I think this is a Brotherhood of Steel Vertibird. Actually, I suspect that this is the same one our protagonist rides later on. Finally, we have the inside of a grocery store, similar in look to the Super Duper Mart, where the protagonist is being assaulted by feral ghouls. Now this is another sign that the game takes place earlier in the timeline. The only clothed feral ghouls we saw in the first-person Fallout games became ghouls because of the wasteland radiation. These ghouls are probably from the first nuclear warheads, and their clothes are mostly intact. Enclave I bought? Now most people notice the large Commonwealth airship in the background, but the scenery here is very important too. This is an equestrian statue of Paul Revere in front of the Paul Revere Mall. This adds another location we can expect to see in the game. If you want to know more about Paul Revere, you can read about him on Wikipedia. This is the shot I was just talking about. We either are this Brotherhood of Steel member, or we're looking over his shoulder in the first-person perspective of our protagonist. This gold-domed building is not a mosque, it's the Massachusetts State House building. This is another important location. Now that we have 3 locations, we can make a quick zone map of where the game may cover. As a prediction, I included MIT would be in the game because MIT has always had a strong connection to the Commonwealth. Fallout 3 covered a real mile distance of about 100 square miles and condensed it down to about 16 square miles, so we can assume Fallout 4 will do something similar. Remember I said I would be talking about this earlier? Well, now is the time. I believe this shot of the parents and the protagonist could possibly be from the boy with the striped shirt's point of view. Now this would make sense if he were the protagonist and not the baby, but it might also make sense if he's a temporary character we as players get to embody to witness this event. In the previous shots, we don't see him anywhere, which is weird because he was in every shot on the run up. He must run behind the parents between the cuts. This is possible because the camera cuts away from the people coming up and to the direction of the explosion. The good old T-45D power armor, and a laser rifle and some other weapons in the background. Don't forget that bobblehead either.
Let's go, pal.
This has been Fahad from Pixel Icons. Thank you for watching, and remember, war never changes. If you really like this video, and you want to support the channel, please take a moment to share, like, and subscribe. Leave a comment too. I'd love to have a discussion with you down below. This is my first video analysis of an announcement trailer, or a video game trailer for that matter, and it was a lot of fun. It was hard sometimes, I really had to poke my nose around, but I think I've done a fairly good job. I did spend the majority of the day and a little bit of the next day after the trailer came out working on it, so by the time I finished it, I didn't realize that a bunch of them were already up. I haven't actually gotten to see them, but I'm looking forward to going through them one by one after I finish mine. And hopefully I didn't miss too much, and maybe I caught some things that other people didn't. But that's it. This is Fahad, signing out.